Hey everybody, we're here for a new episode of the show that has yet to be named. I'm here with JohnnyDonuts777, aka Toronto Franco.
Toronto Franco. Thanks, buddy.
It's me, your boy, Pickles Tuscadero. I forgot what my first name was. Rick the Pick. Rick the Pick. But yeah, this episode is top 5 2000s sitcoms. And I'll go over the extremely long list of stipulations that has built up since the start. It's slowly built up the rules. So it has to have the 3 first seasons in a decade or the last 4 seasons in a decade to count in that decade. It can't be a British sitcom. It can't be an animated sitcom. And I think that's everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's
go.
Let's go. All right,
Here we
go first. You go first.
Okay, so for number 5 for me is Arrested Development.
Okay.
Great show, funny show. Jason Bateman kind of brought him back to the forefront. David Cross has always been a good stand-up comedian with the Mr. Bill show when he had the Mr. Bill with Odenkirk there. So it was a good cast that they brought together. It wasn't the greatest show, but it was a decent show, and I didn't mind that, and I didn't mind the reboot that they did a few years later.
All right, so okay, my number 5 is A Will and Grace. I spent a lot of time watching that show. A lot.
Really?
It was just kind of in the wake of the ending of Seinfeld, and Frasier was coming to an end, it was getting close to the end, and there wasn't much in terms of sitcoms, and Will and Grace was the biggest thing. It's really funny if you watch it, but it doesn't hold up as much as other shows do.
No.
Number 4 for you.
Actually, that's a good one. Number 4 for me is Scrubs.
Okay, Scrubs. I'm not a huge Scrubs guy, but I appreciate it.
That was, like I said, for me, the 2000s was kind of an era where I stopped with sitcoms and TV in general. I kind of cut cable at that point. So anything for me that's when streaming first started. So it was very minimal, the stuff that was on streaming. And Scrubs was one of the first things on Netflix. So I watched a lot of Scrubs.
Makes sense. I'm out of my own. Number 4, I got 30 Rock.
Okay.
So 30 Rock is a carryover one. We talked about it earlier. It can be in both at this point. So I chose it to be for me in the 2000s. I didn't have a lot to pick from in the 2000s.
Yeah, and it's kind of a lean decade.
The way I rank these is more so to get the shows I really love on a top 5 list rather than have them be an honorable mentions on another list, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, it's the shows that I watched the most during that decade.
Yeah, that's but this is for me the same thing. It's just if I let them carry over, they probably wouldn't be on the list.
Good point. Same thing for me. Number 3 is actually Parks and Rec.
Okay, so so there you go. That's a carryover.
Same idea. Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, take your pick. Whichever one you find funnier is the one you go with. I found Amy Poehler. The show you had. Offerman on Nick Offerman, and you launched Chris Pratt's career from that one. So I got to put 30 Rock or Parks and Rec as my number 3.
You might see that later on in a list for me, but my number 3, I don't even need to look at my list. My number 3 is Curb Your Enthusiasm. Seinfeld.
That's Seinfeld carryover. Yeah, Larry David.
It's basically just Seinfeld, except with a different character, and it's a great show. It's still going.
Is it still really going?
They have brought it. I don't know if it came back twice already, but I know it's back now again, and it's still running. But I think there was a period where it came back for 2 seasons, and it went off again.
Okay, interesting. Makes sense. For me, number 2 is Freaks and Geeks.
Okay, Freaks and Geeks.
It's basically a who's who of stars before they were stars. What's his name? Martin Starr. Is it Martin or Marvin Starr?
Martin. Of all the names to go, you go for the deepest pull of the whole.
Well, Martin Starr, because he may or may not show up on a list if we do the 2010s.
Well, he may or may not also show up on the list for me if it comes to the 2010s.
So we had Martin Starr. You had Seth Rogen, James Franco, Linda Cardellini. You had Biff from Back to the Future as the gym teacher, for crying out loud.
I didn't even remember that until you just said it.
Yeah, so, Tom Wilson is the guy. I think it's Tom Wilson, the guy.
So he was so long.
He was the gym teacher, right? It was Biff Tannen. How can you go wrong? That's what it wasn't. Those guys. It was Biff that dragged me into the show, and Linda Cardellini. But
that's for different reasons. Top 5 childhood crushes coming soon.
Right.
Okay, I'm on 2, right? I have The Office.
Okay. I'm guessing the American because the British one is.
Oh yeah, because British one's off limits.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's just, I think there's a lot of this show that's like arguably the best show. A lot of it's not, but it's endlessly rewatchable, and I've spent hours watching it.
Just for memes and gifs, that show is one of the tops. Like
I have to agree.
You can't go without seeing a meme or a gif. Like the arguably the most famous one is the Steve Carell, the no meme, right?
No, or the that's what she said.
That's what she said, right? That spawned a whole craze for a while. I guess number one for me is My Name is Earl.
Okay, well, that's a good show.
It was a great show, fantastic show. Jason Lee was, he proves he can be a lead character in something. That mustache was something else. And like, that was the show I watched probably in the 2000s. That's the show I watched the most. That was the only one I would call appointment viewing for me. That's what I actually went out of my way to watch.
Well, I have a story about that, which I'll get to in the post part of the show. But
sure.
So our lists are pretty different. My number one is Arrested Development. It's easily one of my favorite shows ever made. The first 3 seasons, which all are in the 2000s, are 3 of the best seasons ever made in TV history. I think it's the later 2 seasons that just came out that kind of pull it down for people. And the ending of season 3, the way the show wrapped up when it was supposed to end, it wasn't very.
It wasn't a strong ending. But yeah, it's a good list. Yeah, it is. It is a very different list.
You want to give a run through of yours quick?
Number 5 was Arrested Development. Number 4 was Scrubs. Number 3 was Parks and Rec. Number 2 was Freaks and Geeks. And number 1 was My Name is Earl.
Okay, so for me, I have number 5, Will and Grace. Number 4, 30 Rock. Number 3, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Number 2, The Office. Number 1, Arrested Development. So I guess if you're here for the list, those are the lists. Then if you want to stay for the talk, here's the talk. So I'll just tell you this just to get it out of the way. So I had a 3-way tie at 5, and I didn't want to pull a Caps this time. So I just let it go. But it was both of them were Just Shoot Me and My Name is Earl.
Yeah.
And My Name is Earl, I really wanted to have it on the list, but I just watched Will and Grace so much more that I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep it.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy used to meet up every single day before I would go to work, because we used to go to work at like 2:30
in the afternoon.
Yeah, me and Vargo, and he would come to my house at like 11. We would smoke a joint, and then and we would watch My Name is Earl and then Holmes on Holmes, and then I would leave for work every single day, the exact same routine. And we did it for like 2 years, and I must have seen the same episode of My Name is Earl, because at that point it was still running.
Yeah,
I probably saw the same episode like 40 times,
because they went into syndication pretty quick.
It went into syndication after like season 1.
Yeah, it was a strong show. Hey, Crabman.
To me, the downfall of it was after season 1 and 2, it slowly started to taper off.
It did.
How many seasons was it?
I think it was 4 altogether.
4, yeah. So season 3 is kind of like, and then the last season, whether it's 4 or 5, I don't remember, was like, I wasn't a fan of that season at all. Like the quality of the show changed to be like more.
I think it was a different showrunner. That's why.
Yeah, it became more Hollywood. It was brighter. It was happier. It was less like in the beginning where it was like a grungy show about like a guy that was like trying to smoke cigarettes every 2 seconds and
stuff.
But
the thing is too, with the first season of My Name is Earl, he never always succeeded.
No.
Like he'd fail. And I think that's what also made it different from the later seasons, was the list kind of went away because he finished that list. Remember there was an episode where he finished his list and he's like, now what do I do? Right. And I think that's where the kind of show felt they should have done the list as a series finale instead of like trying to keep it going. Then there was the whole like, I forgot her name. The one who played his ex-wife. The blonde girl there.
Oh, Jamie Presley?
Jamie Presley, yeah, that's her name. Jamie, like, then there was that, I think it was season 3 where she got pregnant, and then it wasn't even like Crabman's kid or something, and it was like,
the first 2 kids are not even Earls to begin with.
They're Crabman's.
Yeah, but somehow they're Earl's kids. And
He's paying the
Crabman doesn't even know that they're his kids. He thinks that they're Earl's kids.
Earl thinks they're his kids.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But that's what's funny. So I've been rewatching it because I wanted to review it. Right. In the beginning, Earl knows they're not his kids in the first like 3 episodes, but then the pilot changes. Yeah,
the pilot, he knows they're not his. He just wants to be a dad to them.
The second and third episode, it doesn't even talk about it. Yeah. And then the third and the fourth episode, it comes back where he thinks that they're his kids, and it was like really weird. But the same thing, like you said, at around I think it was at the end of season 2, they changed the showrunner. And they changed multiple writers. And I guess it's because those guys were like, yo, there's nothing left in this show. We can't pull anything else out of it. I mean, it was still a good show.
It was a decent show, but nowhere near the quality of the first 2 seasons. Yeah.
But like in terms of just watching it, I agree. That's like how these lists are more so than the quality. But like, I think both of us have actually good shows, right?
Yeah. There's a couple shows, like you said, there were a couple ties, but I didn't want to pull a caps. There's also a couple shows, like because of the rules, I couldn't put Flight of the Conchords on there.
Yeah, so that was like me. That's funny that you said it. There was Flight of the Conchords and
the IT crowd.
The IT crowd, and there was one more.
South Park. Yeah. And South Park, I want to put on.
Well, we'll do animated and we'll do British, because the reason we did that, if anybody wants to know, is so that we can extend the series out and give it more life and have like a whole show series, which I think is good. But so do you have any? Well, okay.
Yeah, I got a few. The Office isn't one of my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
So that's one of them, which you had. A show that's polarizing, we mentioned on the last one, is My Name is Everybody Loves Raymond.
I wrote it down just because I knew people would be mad if we didn't talk about it.
I mean, I liked it. I didn't mind the show. You know, a lot of people didn't. They find his voice annoying.
I mean, to me, the thing with the show was like the parents were hilarious.
Yeah.
And the brother was hilarious. His immediate family, the wife and the kids, was so annoying. I could not stand any aspect of the show.
Whenever it's the underlying characters that were the better characters.
The people that interfered in his life were what made it funny. Him and his character, and like Patricia Heaton was good in the show. I'm not saying she was bad, but her character was like frustrating to deal with sometimes, even though she was like not the one. Like I don't know.
The problems.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she was just an average. I don't want to say housewife because that's not a right term, but she was an average person, an average character.
And his family was crazy.
Yeah.
And she had to deal with it. But the thing I didn't like was it was so much focused on her being crazy about what's happening and Raymond not caring that it was happening. And I thought that was so strange.
Well, it's like being in an Italian family. That is how Italian families are. We are like that. Like,
actually,
like, I mean, when my family and I get together, like I'm always the loudest out of everybody, and we're all trying to get louder.
Yeah, but that's normal.
But that's an Italian thing, right?
That's normal.
But I mean, so our get-togethers are insane. Like, there are people that have outsiders that have come in. Like, I don't want to say outsiders because they're family now, like in-laws, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, whatever. That they come into our family and are like completely thrown off, I should say, by our, I guess, loudness is a term I could use.
Yeah. If anything, I fully understand that because we're as loud as it gets, and it's like a swear word every 2 seconds for us. Right. But I mean,
I should have heard the cursing out of my mouth watching the Italy game.
but that's, I understand that part of it. The thing with that show is it's different because it's not like a get together. It's like every day the mom sneaks into her house and like starts washing her dishes and like doing stuff that's making her mad.
But that's what an Italian mother does.
And I get that. And that's more what it is. And it's just like, it's the Raymond and his wife, who I don't know her name, side of it, I don't like.
Yeah.
I like the parents and the brother. The brother's hilarious.
Yeah. So those are some of the one I wanted to put on, which it was a toss-up between Freaks and Geeks, and this was Eastbound and Down.
Okay, so Eastbound and Down, did it carry over?
That might have been a carryover.
Because I think I added it to like my
next one.
No, I don't know what you would call it. Like I always make like a rough list of just like a huge amount of shows from that time, and then I narrow it through it later. Like I usually know what my number one is, no matter what. Like for this one, I knew what my top 4 were. I knew that right away. It was just what was I gonna pick for 5?
My top 3 was guaranteed as well, right?
So. It's like, so Freaks and Geeks. I like it. I watch it. I didn't grow up with it. I don't like it in the sense that it's not really a funny show. And I get it that it has comedic aspects, but it's definitely more of like a Jimmy did drugs. It's like an after school special, but like a whole season.
I think what drove me to it, but what I appreciated more was it was more of a high school sitcom. And at that point I was out of high school already. So it's like, you still want to relive those high school memories, but you're moving on.
And it was very 90s.
Yeah, it was. So it was very relatable to me because I went to high school in the 90s.
Yeah, which I get it, because I personally like the show. For me, I didn't even have it on my honorable mentions. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I
didn't even think you would have it on your list, but like,
it's subjective, right? That's what lists are for.
But it is a good show. Objectively, it's a really good show. But just for me and like my time spent on watching it, and like, it didn't bring me joy to watch that show. It's, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of what's the show that Jay and Silent Bob were on? Like Degrassi.
Oh, Degrassi.
Okay. Like when I watched that as a kid, I liked it, but when I go back and watch it now, I'm like, there's no joy in the show. It's all depressing. Like
for me, it was more of a nostalgia factor, I guess.
And I see it. I mean, it has a lot of comedians. There are funny moments, but it's more
like I mean, it's a who's who cast too, right?
There's also the second show.
But who else was it? Wasn't Sam Levine was also, he played one of the younger students.
Sam Levine is in it. There's so many people. It's just it's all famous people. Yeah. And then
because Michael Cera was in Arrested Development. Who's the other guy there was another guy that was in Freaks and Geeks. Like that was a big cast.
It was, I couldn't even name it to you. There was like Jason Segel, James Franco.
Yes, James Franco,
Seth Rogen. Like there's just a ridiculous.
It's basically a who's who of Judd Apatow actors.
Like they were the next generation after the frat. What was it they were called? The
Frat Pack.
The Frat Pack, which was like Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd and those guys. And then it came all of these guys right after. But yeah, it's
Jason Segel in the Muppet movie.
Yeah. Dude, that's a really good movie. I don't care what anybody says.
It's a really good movie. Yeah,
not Jason the one Segel after so much.
No.
I don't really like Ricky Gervais.
No. But one I noticed one that's absent from both our lists is Malcolm in the Middle.
Listen, I have a nostalgia factor for Malcolm in the Middle, but I never want to watch it again.
It was good at the time, and
it was good when I watched it, but like I can't see myself going back to it and being like, "Wow, this is enjoyable." Have you ever watched it since then?
No, I can't. Yeah. There was a big boom for it after Breaking Bad because of Bryan Cranston.
Well, and then there was Bryan Cranston allowed that theory to exist that he used to be that guy, and then he left that family and
started a new family.
And he fully embraced that theory. So people, like a lot of people, wanted to go back and watch Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, I could see it, but I think he was just a little too, especially towards the final season, he was a little too wacky.
Yeah.
Like he was clearly the star of the show, and they just put him in like ridiculous situations. I found like it was supposed to be about Malcolm, and the final few seasons barely have Frankie Muniz in the show.
Well, that's because he got busy doing other things. That's kind of why the show ended, because they couldn't get him.
He became a race car driver.
Yeah, that guy's a nutcase. Anyways, but I mean, okay, so I got one. So we talked about King of Queens, because we talked about Everybody Loves Raymond, and they're in like the same universe. And to me,
which is another carryover show. Wasn't that great in the 90s? Wasn't that great in the 2000s? It was like they were okay, watchable. But it's watchable.
That show started off with me being absolutely obsessed with Leah Remini. Like I was
started on Who's the Boss. She was Alyssa Milano's best friend.
Because I already liked her from that, and she was so like good looking. I know this is like a stupid reason to like a show. But like I watched a show just for her. Yeah. And then, but as the show progressed, it started to get really weird. And I think Jerry Stiller was the only thing that held it together as the show went on.
It's when they brought in, what's her name? Nicole, the actress there.
From Mad TV.
Yeah. Nicole Sullivan. Yeah. It's when they brought her in as Jerry Stiller's caretaker kind of thing that the focus was kind of taken off the main characters and tried to be put on her kind of thing. Like they were trying, basically it's their way of resuscitating a dying show.
I think they wanted to spin off a show with Jerry Stiller and her living together where she takes care of him. That's kind of what it looked like. I don't know if that's true, obviously, right? But towards the end, it kind of got like that. And this is a show like I didn't go out of my way ever to watch King of Queens. King of Queens was on every channel every day. You had channels, Omni played it, Fox played it, TNT played it, NBC played it, and then CH played it, and then what's the 47 channel? TBS. So all day long that show was on. And then TLN used to play it too.
Oh, that's right. Right after Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah. And it was just like it's like 10 channels a day playing a show every day.
You couldn't escape it every time it was on.
It was like if you wanted to watch a turn your brain off sitcom at like between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock.
Just background noise kind of thing.
You only had Everybody Loves Raymond or this to watch. You didn't have any other options.
I agree. Another one that I wanted to put on my list that I couldn't was It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which may or may not appear on the next list. Spoilers.
No comment.
But let's not delve too much into that one. But that's Danny DeVito is like fantastic on that show. Like it's all about Danny DeVito on that show.
Okay, Danny DeVito is a great part of it. But
Mac. Charlie Day.
The entire cast is so strong for like the first 13 seasons.
A great ensemble.
It slowly towards, as it got to where it is now, that like Dennis stopped being a good character.
Yeah.
And Mac and Charlie kind of got redundant. So it's basically just D doing D things and then Frank, whatever crazy thing Frank's going to do.
But I think that's what a lot of sitcoms in this era suffered from is it was a lot of that family dynamic, and the family was boring, but it was the outlying characters that had all that a lot. That happened a lot in this decade. Like it was like that on was it Modern Families, like that, where the focus was supposed to be on Al Bundy there.
They're the worst part of Al Bundy, I always forget his friggin' name. He's the best part of the show, period. But I cannot stand Sofia Vergara. Like her voice is like a cheese grater on my face. That's like how I feel watching it. And their kid is so annoying.
Those annoying Head and Shoulders commercials that she does.
God, I know. But then the gay couple, the son and his husband, are hilarious. And then the other family is like, I don't really like the kids in the other family, but the husband and the wife are hilarious.
Yeah, they're like the wacky neighbor kind of thing. So there was but other than that, like another one I wanted to put on there that it's animated that I couldn't, which was a fantastic show, is Futurama. Yeah, not enough praise goes to Futurama.
Well, it got canceled twice, I believe. Yeah, so did Family Guy.
But I don't like I don't know. There's something about Family Guy I can't watch.
Well, we didn't come here for animated shows, so
no, that's a different list.
Get too deep into that. But I see what you mean.
Yeah, like it's underappreciated. It was in the shadows of The Simpsons, and The Simpsons at that point was like peak, right?
It was a good show that nobody wanted, and that was the problem. There was no market for it. When it first came out, it was popular.
Yeah.
And it quickly faded away because Simpsons' popularity dwindled, and Futurama went with it.
But the thing is, The Simpsons are still going 33 years later.
In syndication, Futurama got very popular.
Yeah.
The Simpsons are popular in terms of pop culture icons, but I don't think the show is popular anymore. I think the views come because at the time in which it plays, during when it's not football season, there's nothing else to watch on a Sunday night except Simpsons, so people just watch it.
Yeah, before they have to go to bed to go to work the next morning kind of thing. So,
like, I don't really know how many people... Like, I've tried watching it. It's watchable, but it's not even remotely the same show.
The jokes and the writing aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, arguably, the Conan O'Brien seasons were arguably the best ones.
Well, I would say, for me, like, people have, like, this theory of it. For me, it's, like, season 2 or 3 until, like, 12 or 13. Yeah. Most people will tell you it's from like 2 till 8 and then it's bad, but I still think there's a lot of good after that. It was in the mid-teens when it started to get really bad.
Yeah, like they'd still have a few great episodes, but they were few and far between.
You could say that about a lot of shows, though, right? Like Family Guy, I can still watch it, and every once in a while, there's an episode that's so hilarious. But then you get 5 episodes of garbage in between it, and that's the way she goes. But
yeah,
let's
but
see. What else?
other than that, like I don't know what else I have on my list.
Well, I have
here.
a few here, so
yeah, go for it.
I have Yes Dear, which is not like a great show, but I watched it a lot. TBS used to have a block that played 2 episodes of Yes Dear, and then 2 episodes of King of Queens, and then 2 episodes of something else from like 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock, I think.
Okay.
And I used to just watch it. I don't know.
See, I never watched Yes. I don't. Who was that one?
I don't even know who's in it. I don't know their names. Like, nobody in it is like super famous, except maybe like the dad or something. But it's like a family goes broke, so they move in with the sister's family.
Okay.
And they all live together in the same house, and then they eventually can move into the guest house in the back, and that's just like their life. It's a pretty good show. It's just not like a special show.
Yeah. You know what I noticed? We went through 80s, 90s, and now 2000s. Not one of us has mentioned Blossom.
I think we talked about Blossom in 90s.
Did we talk about? Maybe. I can't remember now.
I think Caps mentioned Blossom.
Mentioned Blossom? Okay.
But Blossom would have fell on the block. For me, Blossom lands in a place with like
Full House, that kind of
more like Step by Step, because I find Step by Step is like a more modern take on Full House. Full House dragged out the 80s all the way through their 90s stuff.
Yeah.
And Step by Step was like the 90s version of that.
Okay.
It's an underrated show. I don't know. I don't get people's thing with Step by Step.
Step by Step. I liked Step by Step with Sarandon. No, not Sarandon. Suzanne Summers.
Summers. I was about to say Susan Sarandon, and you just said that.
Yeah, and Patrick Duffy from Dallas, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's a solid show. I mean,
it was
City Guys.
It was Step by Step was that Brady Bunch dynamic, right?
Yeah,
it was basically a modern take, on
modern
that.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah, essentially is what it was, right? So it was a decent show. It just came to my head now too. Underrated shows, the George Lopez show in the 2000s.
Listen, I'm not here to hate on anybody. I understand there is a huge cult following for the George Lopez show. I hate that show.
Really?
I do not find it. It used to play like, this is a thing. Like, you know how King of Queens had that moment? If you were watching TV after 11 o'clock, every channel was playing George Lopez. And it was like, I just couldn't. I think he's funny. I did not like the show.
The cast, yeah. It would have been, yeah. I can see that.
The opening is iconic, though.
Yeah.
Like, when they're all like
the
on the
lowrider.
trampoline or whatever.
But there was that one. I'm trying to think of other shows from that era.
Okay, well,
According to Jim. What about According to Jim?
According to Jim is good. 8 Simple Rules started off really good.
With John Ritter before he passed
John
away.
Ritter and Chris, what's her name? Katie
Seagal. Katie Seagal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
too?
and Katie Seagal. And David Spade is in the later season.
Yes.
I mean, that's a pretty good show, but to me, that's like King of Queens-ish, where it was just like a baseline show from end to end. It was never good, or really bad. It was just like consistently the same thing every season, right?
Makes sense.
According to Jim was really good. That kind of disappeared, actually. That's funny that you said that. I forgot.
I never saw a new episode, but somehow there were always syndicated episodes showing.
Yeah, and that show is very reminiscent to me of the show that just got canceled now, which was Last Man Standing with Tim Allen, which is actually a pretty decent show. But it's very similar to According to Jim. It's like 8 Simple Rules, and According to Jim had another show.
Had another show. Okay,
I was going to say had a baby, but
spin-off.
2 shows can't have a baby.
No.
So okay, I have a couple here. That 70s show.
See, I never liked that one either.
I love the first 3 seasons. Like, absolutely love it. There's so much in that show that's good, but it fell off a friggin' cliff after season 3. Like, it died such a terrible death.
I found Kelso got dumber and dumber as the show went on.
That's what I'm saying. As it progressed, Kelso got dumber, Fez got annoying, Eric disappeared from the show, and then Donna disappeared from the show. So basically, it was just Jackie and Hyde carrying like the whole show, and it got really.
And what's
weird.
his name? Hyde got arrested.
Yeah, and then that's what I'm saying. And then it became like the parents were carrying the show. And
the parents and it was Eric's parents and Donna's parents, Bob and what's her name? Yeah,
I don't know her name, but I know. Yeah, it was Suzanne Summers, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh no, it's the girl from James Bond.
Yeah.
Oh my God, am I going to look this up right now?
Oh, I can't think of her name.
Yeah, she's from the
Wasn't she in Charlie's Angels?
A View to a Kill.
Yes. Okay.
It's Tanya Roberts. She died just recently.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But yeah. So that, I mean, I like that
and
show.
so did Eric's sister. She passed away too, isn't it? Brittany Murphy? Was it? No,
not Brittany Murphy, but I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. She, my brother really liked the show. For my brother, I think if I had to guess, in this time period of watching
that 70s show,
that 70s show and Fresh Prince. I know Fresh Prince is older, but
yeah,
it was heavily in syndication in the early 2000s.
Yes, you couldn't escape TBS without Fresh Prince.
That's kind of why Fresh Prince wasn't on my other list. It's not because I didn't like it. It got too, and it was very like immoral to every story. And I didn't like that. I don't like shows that do that. Like the Cosby Show did it so subtly that it was good.
Yeah.
Fresh Prince was so heavy-handed with it. Like the whole episode is like just talking about gambling to get to the end and be like that, right?
Yeah, I remember that one with where he's playing billiards.
Yeah, and then Uncle Phil has to come save him
and hustle him, and then and then there was like one really serious episode too, where with his father, and it's like and
don't they go to like with the father, and he gives him the hug, he gives
Uncle Phil
the hug,
that's he's more of a dad to him, but
it's a good show, but it just
it was a little too heavy.
It's not on my top 5, right?
Makes sense.
Okay, so I have more here. 2.5 Men. The Charlie Sheen era of 2.5 Men was really funny. Okay, I wouldn't say it's a show that I gravitate to, but it was really funny. The Ashton Kutcher, I'm calling him Kutcher.
Kutcher, isn't he an actor too? David Kutcher?
Maybe. Fuck.
No, David Kutcher. I know. Yeah, he's a bald dude.
Anchorman from Anchorman. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ashton. Oh my god, I almost actually called him Kutcher. Ashton Kutcher. Years of 2.5 Men are so bad. Like I cannot believe they let that show continue going once he came on. And then I guess my last one here, which was one of my honorable mentions that I just want to talk about for a second, is Just Shoot Me. Because I know we touched on it last episode a bit, but like it's such an underrated show. It perfectly falls in a class for me with news radio, where they had a good writing team, a good idea based in like a one spot, like in a news, in a studio for a magazine. And you never leave there. And there was a lot of star power in it. And it just never really caught on.
I forgot her name. She's fantastic in that. I forgot her name.
It's Hot in Cleveland girl.
Yes, her.
She's her name.
She's fantastic at that. Yeah, I agree with that. She's good in that show. I like her in that show.
And David Spade was like a little weasel.
Yeah, wasn't Jane Krakowski in that show as well?
She might have been in the later seasons. I feel like I remember her from that, but I'm not 100%. I know they had that guy with the Italian. I don't know. There's just I'm not. Yeah. This is the thing about doing these shows. I know, like I could sit here and research it forever, but I hate doing that. I'm so bad with people's names.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good, but if I haven't seen it in a while or I haven't seen from them in a while, I tend to forget.
Remembering what happens in shows, like vividly, and remembering the names of shows and stuff vividly is what I can do. The names of the people in it, like music, I can name you all the bands that I like, but I couldn't tell you the names of any of their songs. That's like why I can't do a music episode. I literally don't know the names of anybody's albums or songs, period.
And you'd have to do research to do it.
Yeah, and it's too much work.
Yeah, it makes sense.
To tell you like the background guy's name, you know what I mean? David Spade's in it. Just shut up and watch a show. It had
just watch David Spade. Yeah,
what's his name? The main guy, Siegel, Jerry Siegel. Is it? Now I'm questioning myself. I'm gonna look it up. Because he recently just died. And I even did a list about him. Okay, so here, I'll just name you everybody since I'm already here.
Okay.
You had Laura San Giacomo, who's popular. You had Enrico Colatoni, or whatever his name is.
He was him from George Siegel. Enrico, that's the guy from, he was good in Person of Interest.
Yeah. And then you have David Spade, obviously. You had Brian Posen, who's dope.
Oh, yeah. He's hilarious.
And Wendy Malick was her name.
Wendy Malick. That's it. Wendy Malick. But yeah, Brian Posehn, I liked him in, he was, I don't know if you remember the animated show, Mission Hill.
You know what? He does a lot. I do not, but he does a lot of animated stuff.
Go watch Mission Hill. Mission Hill was in that block of the early 2000s where it was like the MTV animated stuff. And it was like Mission Hill, undergrads, Like there was, there was all these like animated. There was the one Clone High.
Clone High is underrated as hell.
Yeah, like there was a good block of these animated MTV shows, I guess, after the success of Beavis and Butthead. MTV
and Daria.
Yeah, so they ended up going through a lot of these animated routes, and I found I found myself watching those more than actual sitcoms.
Yeah,
there was a Canadian one. I don't know. I used to watch it all the time too. I don't know if you remember. It was Student Bodies.
Student Bodies. Yeah, there was two. Okay. There was Student Bodies, and there was the boat one that had Ryan Gosling.
Oh, Breaker High.
Breaker High, and they played back to back always, which were both actually really good shows.
Yes. Was it Breaker? Yeah, it was Breaker High.
Breaker High. It had Tyler Labine and it had Ryan Gosling.
Yes. Which another underrated show.
I'm pretty sure the redheaded girl is the girl from Clueless, the show.
That is her. Yes, she plays Cher.
That's a lot of star power.
Early on star power. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, what's his name? Brian Posehn?
Posehn, yeah.
Brian Posehn. He has a good run on Deadpool in the comic. Like, as
really?
A writer. Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Interesting.
He wrote a few things, actually, surprisingly. Yeah. There's a lot of celebrities that we don't know actually do writing.
Didn't CM Punk do a run on Thor?
I think so, yeah. CM Punk has his own comic book, I think.
Yeah. But I know he did a run on Thor. He did some of the Jane Foster series.
I think Brian Posehn or whatever also has a metal band.
Yes, he does that.
I mean, they're dipping their toes in everything.
I always used to get him and Jim Gaffigan confused.
That's actually, I could see it, but now I can't. Like, nowadays, I would never confuse it. But back then, 100%, because they even have that same, like, monotone. Yeah. But yeah, I get it. Anyways, I don't have anything else.
No, I'm good too. Yeah. And so other than that, I guess we're done.
All right. Well, for Pickles Tuscadero and Toronto Franco.
Franco.
We'll see you on the next one.